Man United fans are already calling Ederson a boring signing. Fred 2.0, nearly 27. Not a Brazil regular. Not the shiny Ineos midfielder people expected. And I get it. But before you write him off, go back to Anfield. April 2024. Atalanta walked into Liverpool's ground and beat them 3-0. Not by out-glamoring them, by making the game horrible. And Ederson was right in the middle of it. Winning duels, killing second balls, breaking rhythm, doing the stuff United's midfield keeps failing to do when games get ugly. That is why this signing is interesting. He is not coming to be the star. He is coming to do the dirty work, so Kobbie Mainoo does not have to. And if United finally want a midfield that can survive pressure, this boring signing might be a lot scarier than people think. And look, I know why fans are saying Fred 2.0. Brazilian midfielder, runs all day, plays with intensity. Not exactly the superstar name people were dreaming of. And if the fee really lands around £35 million plus add-ons, some fans will ask whether that is smart business or just another United compromise. So yes, the skepticism makes sense, but the Fred comparison is still lazy. Because United are not buying Ederson to be pretty. They are not buying him to be the face of the rebuild. They are buying him to do the ugly work. And that is where the difference is. Fred was energy without control. Ederson is energy with purpose, not a Rodri-style controller, not someone who stands there and dictates the whole match like a conductor, more like a chaos filter, a ball recovery monster, the player who gets across the pitch, wins the duel, collects the second ball, stops the counter from becoming a disaster, then gives it to someone cleaner. That matters because Kobbie Mainoo should not spend half his career putting out fires. Mainoo should be receiving higher, turning higher, creating higher, playing like the midfielder United actually believe he can become. And if Ederson comes in, that is the point. He does the ugly work that lets Kobbie, Bruno, and whoever else comes in actually play football instead of constantly putting out fires. And United do not have to turn every difficult away game into a survival mission. That is why this signing might be boring on the surface, but important underneath. Because sometimes the player who changes your midfield is not the one who looks best in the edit. It is the one who lets everyone else look better. And the clearest example of that was not hidden in a spreadsheet. It was there at Anfield, when Atalanta walked into Liverpool's ground and made one of Europe's most intense teams look uncomfortable. But Anfield is where this starts to make sense. Atalanta did not beat Liverpool 3-0 by being pretty. They made the game horrible. They broke Liverpool's rhythm. They won the loose balls. They stopped the crowd from turning the match into chaos. And Ederson was right in the middle of that, not as the headline act, as the problem solver, the tackle, the recovery, the second ball, the simple pass after winning it. And even Klopp basically admitted Liverpool lost control of the game. After the match, he said Liverpool lost the plot a little bit, and that his midfield was spread everywhere. That is the clue. Because when a Jurgen Klopp team starts looking disorganized at Anfield, something serious has happened. And that is the type of football United keep losing against. The game gets stretched. The midfield gets dragged around. Bruno drops deeper. Kobbie Mainoo gets pulled into the dirty work. And suddenly United are not controlling the match anymore. They are reacting to someone else's chaos. That is why Ederson makes sense. He is not there to win the edit. He is there to stop the game getting away from United, to arrive early, to win contact, to clean up the second ball, to give it simple, to let the better technicians breathe. That is why the boring signing label misses the point. Sometimes boring is not a weakness. Sometimes boring is exactly what a chaotic team needs. And this is where the next fair question comes in. Is Ederson really a Michael Carrick signing? Or is this just an old United target being recycled from the Ten Hag days? Because United have followed this player for a while. This is not some brand new name that suddenly appeared because Michael Carrick watched one Atalanta game and fell in love. So if fans are asking that question, I get it. But that does not automatically make it a bad signing. Because serious clubs do not rip up the whole recruitment list every time the manager changes. They track profiles. They follow players over years. They keep names alive if the data, the scouting, and the squad need still line up. And that is probably what Ederson is. Not purely a Carrick signing. Not purely a Ten Hag signing. More like a club signing that now fits what Carrick is trying to build. That distinction matters. Because if United wanted him years ago as just another runner, then yes, ask questions. But if they still want him now because Casemiro is leaving, Ugarte has not fully convinced, and Kobbie Mainoo needs someone to do the dirty work beside him, then the context is different. Same player, different need, different system, different reason. And that is why this deal should not be judged only by when United first liked him. It should be judged by whether he solves the problem they have right now. Because recruitment is not always about discovering a brand new name. Sometimes it is about waiting until the player, the price, and the squad need finally line up. And this is where the frustration makes sense. Because if you ask United fans who they really want, a lot of people will say Sandro Tonali. And I get it, Tonali feels bigger, Premier League proven, Champions League level, more complete, more exciting. The kind of signing that makes fans feel like the club is finally acting serious. But this is where United have to be careful. Because the question is not just who is the better player. The question is, what combination actually fixes the midfield? That is a very different conversation. United are not just looking for one midfielder. They may need two, maybe even three. So if names like Elliot Anderson, Sandro Tonali, Adam Wharton, Carlos Baleba or other midfielders are on the list, compatibility matters. You cannot just collect good players and hope the midfield makes sense. Someone has to progress the ball. Someone has to control possession. Someone has to carry. Someone has to protect transitions. Someone has to win the second ball when the move breaks down. That is where Ederson becomes interesting. He may not be the marquee midfielder. He may not be the player fans are dreaming about, but he could be the one who lets the marquee midfielder work. That is the part people skip, because United have spent years buying exciting names without building a proper midfield blend. Too much talent, not enough balance, too many players wanting freedom, not enough players protecting the structure. So if Ederson comes in for £35 million plus add-ons, the club may not be looking at him as the dream signing. They may be looking at him as the base layer, the player who gives the midfield legs, duels, recoveries, defensive security, the player who does the dirty work while the cleaner midfielders play. And that matters, because sometimes the best signing is not the one who gets everyone buzzing on day one. Sometimes it is the one that makes the next signing make sense. But there is one fair concern with Ederson, and United fans are right to ask it. Is this him, or is this Atalanta? Because we have seen players leave Gasperini's system before and look different somewhere else. Atalanta is intense. The roles are clear. The pressing is drilled. The distances are aggressive. Everyone knows when to jump, when to cover, when to press, when to rotate. So yes, there is risk. Maybe Ederson looks cleaner there because the system gives him the perfect platform. Maybe the Premier League exposes things Serie A hides. Maybe United ask him to do too much too soon. That is the honest part, but this is why I still understand the logic. Ederson's best qualities are not built on one cute tactical trick. They are repeatable: running, dueling, recovering, winning second balls, covering space, giving the simple pass after the hard work is done. Those traits usually travel. You are not asking him to become a new player. You are asking him to bring the ugly parts of his game into a United midfield that badly needs them. And that is the difference. If United were signing him to be the next Michael Carrick, I would be worried. If they were signing him to control every match with 100 touches, I would be worried. But if they are signing him to add legs, aggression, protection, and balance, then the deal makes more sense. The Atalanta risk is real, but so is the United need. And sometimes recruitment is not about finding the perfect player. It is about finding the right profile before the problem gets even worse. And that is why this signing feels so strange. Because Ederson is not the player most fans were dreaming about. He is not Tonali. He is not the name that makes the fan base explode on announcement day. But maybe that is exactly why this deal tells you something. For years, United have chased excitement, the big name, the expensive name, the player who looked like the answer before anyone asked what the actual question was. And too many times, the midfield still ended up unbalanced. Too open, too emotional, too easy to play through when the game turned ugly. Ederson is not a perfect signing. There is risk. The fee matters. The Atalanta system matters. The age profile is not what some fans expected from Ineos. But if the job is to give United legs, duels, recoveries, second balls, and protection around Mainoo and Bruno, then the logic is clear. He is not here to make the midfield look glamorous. He is here to make it function. And maybe that is the shift United have needed. Less obsession with the name, more obsession with the role. Less chasing the player everyone wants, more finding the player who actually fixes the problem. That is why this boring signing might be scary. Because if it works, United do not just get another midfielder. They get something they have been missing for years. A grown-up midfield.